Hey guys! So, in this video we are going to talk just a tad about design patterns and basically responding a little bit to a subscriber who asked me about design patterns and kind of how to think about them and how to use them. So let's get into it. You see, design patterns, for those of you who don't know it, is something that is a bit of a phenomenon in software engineering overall. And basically the idea of a design pattern is that there is this common problem or problem domain that somebody sat down and wrote what basically is a generic solution to this problem. And the thing about design patterns are that they are extremely well thought out, and they have most of them have naturally grown over years and years and years, and many different developers have had very similar sort of issues and arrived at the solution that is going to fit into this type of design pattern, if you will. And that's basically how it kind of, like, what a design pattern is. Just think about it as a generic way of structuring code so that it solves a certain type of problem. Now, the person in question who asked me about this was kind of asking about how to think about them, and should he read books about design patterns, and like how should he, like, there are some cult books and that will touch on everything in design patterns, right? And see, for somebody who has done this before and made pretty much all the mistakes when it comes to design patterns, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that I've done most of the mistakes. I've made most of like the fuck-ups that are possible to do with the design patterns, because I was one, it kind of happens when you're honestly, I think that this is the one occasion that I really feel that being more of a lazy developer or a pragmatic, I kind of just do this as a job type of thing, is actually the way to go. Because when you're very excited and very passionate and stuff of that nature, you're constantly trying to push your own limit, and you're trying to figure out new ways of doing things, and then design patterns comes your way, and all of a sudden, shit, you have this amazing toolbox of different design patterns that have been thought out by extremely intelligent programmers over years and years and years. So you kind of sit there and think to yourself, I'm going to be as smart as these people, and I'm going to learn all these design patterns, and I'm going to use them perfectly. And that's not going to happen. I'm going to tell you this right now. If you are a junior looking into design patterns, you are already making mistakes. I can promise you that. So the reason why I say this is because you have virtually no understanding of the problems that you are solving. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I mean that you are going to find yourself trying to fit your problem into the design pattern, and that's the wrong way to go about it, because the design pattern was designed in order to solve a given problem. Do you see the difference in perspective? So the perspective is that you're going to have is that you are going to be excited about the design pattern and you're going to want to use it, but that's not the way it should work. The master programmers who thought out these design patterns have basically had the approach that, all right, I've had this problem, I've solved it over and over and over, maybe I could make this a generic thing, and then I could reuse that implementation in another scenario where I have the exact same or very similar problem. And that's the thing that I told this viewer. I was saying that the problem is that even if I tell you, like, he was asking about the most common ones because there's so many, which one should I learn? And I said, I can sit here and I can tell you about the factory pattern, and I can tell you that that's one of the most common patterns there is, or the builder pattern, that's also extremely common. The problem is that as soon as you go out and Google that now, you're going to learn it, and then you're going to misuse it anyway. And that's the unfortunate truth of reality. It's, to me, learning how to use design patterns correctly is very much the same sort of thing as it is to mature as a human being, to become an adult, if you will. As a teenager, you think that you know how to do everything, and that's the same thing for a junior or mid-level programmer who learns a design pattern. You think that you understand the use case, but it's inevitable that you are going to misuse it. You're going to, like, monads is another one that I see all the time. I've seen so many different code tests and different people use monads in JavaScript without any understanding whatsoever what a monad actually solves for them. I mean, I'm pretty sure I lost that job due to this, because I got a code test where they had used Redux, and then this person had made their own implementation of a monad, and it was used in one single place in the entire code base. And it was very obvious to me and everybody I kind of talked to about this, that this would have just been it would have been an easy place to just put an if else. If you are using a monad for a single function once in your code base, then you basically are you are not using it in a correct manner. That's not it, not per my definition anyway. A monad is a much too complicated programming paradigm to use instead of an if else for a single use case. It's much more, has a more impactful and more purposeful role than that. Same thing with the builder pattern and factory patterns and facade patterns, decorators. There's so many different types, right? So what I want to tell you here is that I think that it's healthy for you to get an understanding of, just read whichever book you want when it comes to design patterns. I'm not going to mention anything, because you figure it out for yourself, because the thing I want to go for here is that the healthier way for you to learn design patterns is to work without knowing them until a point where you have gotten to the spiral, or the circulation of experience that I like to call it. So basically how it works as a junior, what's going to happen is that you're going to work and everything's going to be new to you, and you're going to keep on working, and every single day of your career is going to teach you something different and something new, and every single project that you build is going to be something new. But at some point you are going to loop, or you're going to circulate. You're going to be asked to build the same thing again. And to me, there is really no way for you to ever be able to use a design pattern in an effective manner without ever reaching that point where you start to circulate on something. Because it's only when you start repeating the same things over and over, you start to realize that, damn, I'm doing this over and over and over, and I'm wasting a lot of time doing that. Maybe there's a better way to do it. Because when you get to that point, that's when you're ready for a design pattern, because that's exactly what a design pattern is going to help you with. But if you never get there, odds are that you're simply going to kinda have an understanding of the problem that you're solving, and then you're just going to throw in a design pattern without actually having any use case for it, and overcomplicate your own code. So that's basically what I told this subscriber, and it's the same thing I'm going to tell you. Learn a design pattern, but know that it's something that is an exception to a rule. It's actually very seldom that you find that you need a design pattern. As I said, most common builders and factories, at least for me, factory probably is, especially in Java, enterprise and like stuff of that nature, enterprise coding, factory patterns are very, very common. But as I said, most of the time you don't build them. So don't just don't go now and like Google and start learning them and start using them for everything. Just play around with them for a bit. And as I said, you're going to misuse them. It's inevitable. But remember that point as I was saying, remember that when you reach that point, when you see that you are repeating this over and over and over, that's when you start asking the question, maybe there's a pattern that this follows that will fit very well for my specific use case. And don't beat yourself up about it. As I said, everybody starts out as a junior. Everybody's going to go through puberty and learn and think that you know everything about the world. And you're going to fuck up. It's just inevitable. You're going to misuse them. I promise you that you will misuse design patterns. And then finally you will mature and you will start to get an understanding of, okay, I was making these mistakes a few years ago, and now I understand how I should have been using them. But you have to go through that journey, because everybody has to go through that journey. Have a great day.